Yeah, I would love to see this, yeah, in action for
In
sure.
action?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the live action thing. So,
Welcome back, everyone, to Tech Times Exclusives. Today, I'm very happy to be talking to the Foresight Factory co-founder and CEO, Meabh Quoirin. Meabh, thank you very much for joining us.
it's a real pleasure, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And today you are here to tell us about a new platform, right? Collision. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, so please, you can tell us about it.
Awesome. I'll take the microphone. So, Collision has some new news. It's maybe less of a new platform per se. Uh, we are Foresight Factory. We've been around since 1996, and over the last couple of decades, we've really built solutions to help businesses make decisions about the future. Collision's been a large part of that journey. In fact, we were the first business, I would say, in the insight intelligence space to actually bring a platform to its clients. But we have been through a number of evolutions with that platform. And in fact, I think we could say that this is really a revolution in terms of what new Collision can do for our clients today. We've really turned it from being a platform with intelligence into being a decision-making tool where senior executives can get a very live, real-time, custom, personalized output of the decisions that they need to be making today and for the future of their businesses, as it pertains very much to their brand. And we've really worked to build that custom piece. But the other super exciting thing that I'm really proud to hopefully show you today is the AI that we've layered in. We all know AI is such a big buzzword, and there's been a real rush to get AI solutions to market. I think for a lot of businesses, agency side in particular, we've really taken the time to think about what could we do with that? How could we harness big data and the layering of data intelligently to really give people answers to the questions that they've got and that they simply struggle to piece together today. So maybe we'll get into some of that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I understand like this is a world's first. Like what exactly is it that makes it such?
Okay. Yeah, big statement. So I better have an answer for that, right? Well, I think what makes it world first is when we look at AI, particularly how people are using OpenAI to develop and interrogate data. A lot of that is truly trying to understand what's happening real time in the marketplace. So I would categorize a lot of it as supply side. What are people talking about and what's being launched into the market that is trending, if you like. And another sort of aspect of that means that it's looking at what people have talked about and done to date, and maybe a hint of what's about to happen next. So it's great for really stimulating our sense of FOMO, but not great for giving us a very strategic view of what we need to think about. So we set out in our world first ambitions to do a couple of different things with that. We wanted the AI to give a complete view of the dynamics affecting a business. So not just talk about the supply side, but also talk about the demand side. We wanted, in other words, to bring a solution to bear that gave people a customer-led view of what was out there, as well as a competitor-led view of what was out there. And we really wanted to make that a more holistic picture where you could see and sense what activity you needed to run, but be able to distinguish that activity in a white space sense. So almost cut through the white noise to get to the white space, and to know that if you're doing that, you're meeting both what your customer demands and what they will demand in the future, as well as what your competitors are busily building, and that you need to stand distinguished from, and what's the kind of gap space that you need to perfectly play in. And the other piece that makes it really distinguished, and I will say again, world first, is that everything we do, I mean, the clue is in the name, Foresight Factory, is from that forward-looking perspective. So we wanted to make it predictive. Now, you know, again, you can't just make predictions with AI in a really flat or perfect sense. But everything we do at Foresight Factory is very forward-looking, and we have built a predictive view of consumer trends and consumer needs, and we project all of that forward into 3, 5, 10 years hence. And what we've done with the AI is then to layer in that view of the marketplace in real time and to look at the crossover of where the white space sits in terms of not just what consumers are demanding now, but what they'll demand over the next 5 to 10 years to come. So you really get this sense of creative space where you can interact with the marketplace in a way that either at least keeps you up with what your competitors are doing, or allows you to position yourself ahead of that, and not only ahead of them, but also in a space where essentially, you know, your consumers are going to be invested in for the foreseeable future. So, you know, a 360 view and a predictive view.
Okay, well, yeah, the predictive, I feel like that's such a, yeah, like it's, I can understand how this could be incredibly beneficial for everyone involved, really. Like when it comes to, you know, like, okay, what does this look like down the road? How can we plan? How should we maneuver? We should do these type things. So yeah, we've we've discussed kind of the nuts and bolts here. But I do understand you're going to kind of give us like a run through demo.
I can do that. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see this. Yeah, in action for
in
sure.
Action?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the live action thing. So, well, first of all, let me share screen because that usually helps if you run a live demo. And let's see if we can.
And I think this also, speaking of world's first, this might be a Tech Times exclusive first, where we get the actual real-time walkthrough from the CEO of the company.
Well, let's hope that it does what I want it to do. So I'm just going to move along tabs to make sure that you can see this and that they're functioning together. Can you see, what can you see, Chris? Let me just check that first of all.
Results for luxury retail, methodology, top trends.
Okay. So what you're seeing is not what I'm seeing. Okay. Oh yeah, I've got another button. Can you see a desktop that says Hi Meabh?
Yes, I see it now. There we go. Yep. Okay,
awesome. So let me just set this up and then I'll take you directly into the AI and what that can do. So Perfect. This is the homepage of Collision. And you can see there's a basic greeting personalized to me. I won't take you through how to personalize it at this stage, but we work across 200 global clients that span 20 plus vertical sectors. And I can choose the kind of sectors that I'm interested in and just how broad or how narrow I want that trend report, predictions, you know, intelligence content to hit my desktop, as it were. And so you'll see a mixture of, you know, here's a piece we published just today, actually, Gen Z attitudes to tech, what's trending, different weak signals, you know, what do we see on the horizon that could really bubble up and hit people's priorities next, a whole bunch of different things. And as we scroll through, it simply updates day and daily with the latest in terms of what we are looking at as a business. And we can search this universe, if you like, to get into understanding different strategic issues that are most of interest to us. So to give you a flavor of what some of that looks like, you can look at just trends, you can look at weak signals, you can look at different business applications. So this is why we say it's really a decision-making tool. It will tell you what to do about all of the questions and themes and issues that you've got, depending on whether you're sitting in the marketing department, whether you need to reach different audiences, whether you need to deliver a new customer experience, whether it's product and services you need to design, and so on and so forth. And then, like we said, lots of sectors, lots of themes. AI is right up there, of course. But you know, you've got luxury, sustainability, all the things that you know are really strategic and on point today. So That's kind of what's sort of sitting behind that search piece in the first place. But if we want to get into what the AI will power up and deliver in terms of marketplace as well as consumer understanding too, what we need to do, and I'm going to share this next tab, is to tap into that search box and see what comes back. So I've picked luxury retail, and that's on my mind today because actually one of my clients, who's the marketing director of a particular CPG business in the food space, was just asking me questions around how, in a world where a lot of the success of their business, the revenue comes through grocery retail, hitting shelf, making the numbers. But increasingly in a world where, there's an economic set of pressures that we're all well aware of, margins are difficult, and there's a bit of price war inevitably happening in that world. And so they're looking to different kinds of retail, more premium retail, where they can maybe look at interesting partnerships to explore. So if I go into this and think, okay, what's in that sort of premium retail space that I'm interested in, and see what the tool brings back, the first thing I'm going to see is this space here of top trends. So these are the trends that we at Foresight Factory test and validate through our proprietary data set. And that's a data set that's been running for the last couple of decades. We interrogate 46,000 consumers in 27 different markets worldwide to build up an evidence set of data. And we basically stress test that and build out strategic trends to help people understand those things. And we'll look at an example in a moment. Let's not talk about growing trends just yet. I'll explain what that is. But initially we see, okay, luxury retail, you've got these big trends to think about. And if we scroll down, what that's going to do is it's going to classify what the AI is pulling in, classifying, and through our machine learning capability has essentially matched to those big trends. So the 5 that we saw across the top, plus some others that are really on point for luxury retail. And under here, what it's going to take us to are links to what the market response is doing. So here we can see, for example, an example of what's happening in the alcohol sector. Here we've got a service proposition in the automotive space. We've got another example in a brand success program, all talking about different aspects of this. And what we can do is go into think about the fact that, okay, sustainable living is one of the really strategic pillars, for example, that we want to get into a little bit more for our business, or it could be driving experiences, or it could be local, whatever we want. But if we hit that, it will start to personalize. Okay, what are the examples that speak most to that? And this one I was really interested in. I was taking a look at it earlier. So Madrid, I had no idea this was happening, but Madrid is building out a reputation for itself for luxury high-end travel, both in terms of its culture and its industry, and that's driving really incredibly innovative retail propositions, but with a sustainability first mindset. So we can actually click on that and go into that article. It will show us what's happening. It'll give us that synopsis. So it's pulling all of those examples, if you like, in real time on a day and daily basis. And then it is essentially, as we said, classifying it against trends. And we can see different things here. So these are all, of course, against sustainable living. We can see where the examples are coming from. If we scroll up and down, we're going to see that it's pulling examples from all across the world and different markets and different regions. And any of these tabs will take us to a slightly different view of that. So we've basically got market response. We've got trends, which is the consumer demand side of it. But what's really interesting is then to think about what that strategically means for you as a business. So what can you do that either you can do really well alongside and benchmark yourself against the marketplace, or how can you get ahead of that? So here what we're doing is matching the consumer demand predictive trends with the marketplace response. We're matching those two things together, and we're basically classifying, okay, if you want to leverage first mover advantage, you can act on any of these trends, because there's very little, if I scroll down, you'll see this, there's very little, in fact, in this instance, no market response in this territory just yet. But actually, we want to get into that from okay, let's say, and in fact, the client in question is very firmly and very proud to be a fast follower. What they do is they watch what the market is doing, respond really quickly, really well, and tend to deliver premium experiences off the back of that. So if they want to do that, they'll hit the fast follower tab. And what that will cue is an additional set of trends, all still very relevant to luxury retail from that consumer demand side, but that position you slightly differently. And underneath this, we'll see a whole bunch of other articles and connections to market responses, innovation, marketing campaigns, and so on, that will give you a sense of what the competition is doing. And so again, you can figure out how to act alongside all of this. And if we go into any one of these trends, we will see what how to act looks like. So it opens in a different tab. We can see this is a trend called Unapologetically Me. It's all about standing out, being distinct, being proud and loud about who you are. And a lot of that sort of luxury marketplace really taps into new and bolder identities, which is why this trend is coming up. And then if we flick through it, you can see all sorts of things like, what is this trend? How should I act about it? You can see how we apply that to different angles of a business applicability. You can see all the different sectors that this trend really works well across.
Oh, wow.
You can see data that we have that's proprietary data set that help us understand what's driving this trend and how it looks in different markets. We can edit that data to look at that through different audiences. We can see what's best in class and what is a really, really forward-thinking expression of that trend. And crucially, to the predictive point, we can see where it's come from, what's happening right now, but also in 5 years' time, if you want to deliver on this trend, what you really need to be thinking about. So it's that whole journey through. And if we go back one more time to our list, and we want to, let's say we're exploring that, and we want to get into it for a key audience, you can see that actually what has happened on this gap analysis piece is it's pulling luxury retail, but set to default is Gen Z and global average. But let's say, as we are in this example, thinking about the marketing director and the fact that, okay, well, actually, their most interesting market is a different generation. We would pull this up. We can look at this by literally any audience we imagine. We've already sort of pre-classified this against 200 plus different audiences. So, we can look at every kind of age group, personality type, earnings income. We can look at it across different kinds of, well, obviously gender, different sector preoccupations and so on. But let's just say I want to take a look at this by Generation X. So you'll see the trends will change. And also, if we want to look at it, not just by global average, but let's say, actually, I want to think about this from an Australian perspective. And again, you've got any one of 27 different markets here to choose from, as well as regional averages and so on that you can zero in on. But let's just say, because it's the top of the list, I want to look at that from an Australian perspective. Again, the list will reorder, because what it's really doing is pulling you into, okay, if I want to resonate with and stand out and distinguish myself and make sure I'm on point for Gen X in my Australian market, what are the trends that are going to be really important to them? And then what is the competitive activity and the marketplace response that I need to be aware of so that I can calibrate to or get ahead of that? And again, you can toggle between that first mover piece and the trends that really set you apart there versus that fast follower piece. And then maybe just to close the loop, and then I'll hand you back the microphone on this, Chris. We in that market response space, you'll remember you've got these trends that sort of top the list generally in terms of what the market's doing. Over here, you can see we're in beta because we just launched this last week, but in a week or two, this space will be filled too. And what that will do is it'll show you under each one of these trends where the market activity is growing or maybe contracting. So you'll get a sense of momentum on both consumer side and again on that marketplace side. So here, you know, we're really, I guess, handing a very powerful tool across to not just marketing, but obviously innovation, people that are developing product, people that are looking at R&D, people that are thinking about acquisition, and you know, who best to partner through. And so it really spans quite a number of strategic disciplines in that planning and foresight space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, this is an advantage. I'll be the first to admit, like a lot of times for these exclusives, I don't really dive in that deep because I like to learn, and you know, it's kind of like a human, but this is actually mind-blowing. Like the preciseness that can be obtained through collision is really impressive.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, for sure. It
Maybe
makes me want to just go like play, and like I can just see, like, you know, there's so many things, like, okay, so what is this age group or this you know, income group or whatever in this country I've never heard of, like what are they? It's very, very, very interesting stuff.
Well, it is a passion point for us, of course, and I'm very happy to let you go play anytime. One of the things that I guess we have had to work hard at is who is this for? And one of the really important things, I said it earlier, we don't just want this to be a platform, although, you know, platforms can be incredibly powerful, and we believe this one is. But we really wanted it to work hard at a problem that we know every decision maker has, which is, what do I do about any of this? How do I act on this? How do I, you know, there's a lot of apathy or fear or inertia in terms of future planning because people have got so many problems to solve just in terms of the day job and the quarterly targets and so on. But we know that at least half of our users are really senior decision makers, and they need to understand at, you know, the click of a button, at the touch of a button, what are the decisions that they need to have as a business overall that are genuinely strategic. So, you know, one of the flip sides is, how do I not get distracted in that real-time space of, you know, people doing new things every day, and how can I really zero in on our brand vision, the culture of our business, and how we can succeed, and how we can make those predictive trends work for us in a space that is going to be authentic to us. So in terms of just that how to act piece, what we really wanted to do was to make it as custom and as tailored to every individual client as we possibly could. So as well as that sort of real-time feed of intelligence, we've built a top-down way of using the site as well. And you know, many businesses, particularly in that foresight space, or where they've got to think about, you know, the next 2, 5, 10 years planning. You know, if you're the marketing director, if you're the foresight director, if you're the chief strategy officer, whatever. And we essentially build, instead of sort of giving them collision as an open playbook, we build for them on the human side, because we really believe in the power of human plus machine. We build for them what we call a trend framework. So a selection of strategic areas and themes for them to really invest in, because that's what makes sense for their business. And obviously what makes sense can be decided on through a series of strategic parameters. And then we have the bottom-up piece connect directly into that. And I can show you that too, if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So this is going to be a shorter video, actually, Chris, so less live in the tool, simply because these are so custom made and so bespoke that they are, you know, highly confidential from an individual client point of view. So this is just, let me show you this one just from the perspective of what it does, rather than a client example of this, because the demo can't do this justice in quite the same way. So let me make this big. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes. Purple.
So it's just this video is just buffering for this.
Okay, yeah,
so,
sure.
Hopefully it will run as it should.
Okay,
here we go. So this is it queuing up a framework, and you would imagine this might be done, well, it would be done entirely from the client's perspective. And they might choose 5 major themes that are really affecting their business. But then underneath that, what drives those themes forwards? What are the trends that pertain to those themes that they really need to invest in? What are the audiences then? Do they just want to look at a certain Gen Z? Do they want to get into different regions, different marketplaces? And all of that then gets plugged into their very own access point and dashboard, where all of the implications and actions are written from the perspective of their individual brand. And as I say, with this personalized custom framework, because they can't afford to every 5 minutes jump on a new trend or a different strategic priority. Right. And the other thing that they can't do is have the innovation team doing one thing and then the CMO really putting out public messages on another theme. Everything needs to be coherent and in a world that makes sense for that individual brand. So we've tried to build it so that they can have their custom view of all of that, but then layer in absolutely what does that mean right now today in terms of the latest of what their competitors are doing. So they can plug that AI piece directly into their framework and have that bottom up connected to the very sort of decision making top down strategic view also.
Well, and this yeah, this is all very, very exciting. I'm so glad I waited to learn about this directly from you. But yeah, if we could take a step back for a second, I'm curious about, I heard you mention earlier that your company or Collision went through kind of an evolution from consumer insight to more of a decision making. How did that come about exactly?
I think the nature of the questions that we've been getting from clients has been progressively more and more sophisticated. And I think when we first built a platform, it was enough to essentially spot, test, and validate signals in the marketplace. So what are the trends out there? How do I know they're definitely happening? Which markets are they happening in? And what context should I pay attention to for my business? So a world that was relevant, that was evidenced, and that had a view of the future. But what we found was that in a lot of businesses, perhaps that works really well for the strategy team. And they get a strong sense of what the landscape of their business needs to be responsible for. And they know that these are the priorities that they need to take into the business. But then they're going to hand that off to the CMO, who's got to figure out, an entire sort of piece around reputational management, or they've got to take it into the CIO or those in charge of what to invest in and the CapEx decisions that they need to make that are, obviously crucial and where there's enormous stakes in terms of revenue and reputation at hand. Or you've got people on the sustainability side looking at how, we simply can't afford to be playing catch up on that any longer. Or, once again, we've got super competitive territory to navigate in terms of customer experience. Consumers are more and more sophisticated. Brands across every single sector are really moving, through that. Even those that were, very B2B to C, having a customer first proposition and a consumer first way of thinking to really, really get into the mind and mindset of their consumers. So with all of those audiences, It wasn't enough to just say, oh, here is a trend. That's interesting. Oh, yes, and I can see it's relevant in France, or in the US, we're really ahead of the curve on that, or this wave of transformation is going to come and affect our business soon. We actually needed to tell them not just what to do or what the broad relevance of any single trend would be, but how individual teams would need to act on that. And not only today, but what they would need to anticipate in terms of actions for the future. So that's where we started to take Collision to the next level. And that first evolution was to, instead of just writing editorial and copy that was smart and intelligence and data backed, that it would move into that client mindset of what do I need to do about any of this? So the whole structure of the platform changed. The answers, we started putting answers first. This is what to do about it. This is what the trend means. This is what you should do about it. Oh, and by the way, if you need further evidence that this is really happening, that would all sit underneath. So already we started to make that very customizable to a client mindset first. And we made it modular so that we could talk to any one of those 20 sectors, any one of those major decision-making senior people in a client could click in and know what to do at the touch of a button. So that was a real evolution piece for us. And, we did a lot of UX. We tested that with a lot of our decision makers. We, built it bit by bit to test and learn and test and learn. But I'm super proud to say that we have a near 100% retention rate of our clients in terms of our Collision companies year after year. And sometimes it doesn't work because I don't know, there's mass redundancies or priorities change dramatically, but we keep virtually every single client with us year on year, and then clients come back to us when they turn up in new client companies. So we have huge retention, and so we knew we were doing something right, and that really gave us the confidence to go after the next level. And that's when we decided that we were going to have to really tackle the AI revolution. We could see already in that space then that there was an enormous amount of web scraping and understanding in a very clever sense, real-time application of particularly micro trends across lots of different sectors, and really, helping businesses figure out what new niche areas could be for them. But for us, that was always just one side of the coin. And we really wanted to put the missing piece back in the puzzle with this consumer first, decision making first piece. So that was how we got to our version of where we could make AI really smart and much more effective as a decision making tool.
Well, yeah, this is all incredible. Absolutely. I feel like, because obviously like business and consumer trends are, they're changing and moving and growing. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I get the feeling that Collision is kind of, with the inclusion of the AI, it's almost like a living, breathing how-to guide for your business, right? Like it's just ever changing and current, and yeah, it's really, really good stuff, Meabh.
Well, thank you again. I guess I'm sure you feel this too, but if you read the sort of mood of the market, I think everyone feels that they've hit just about peak disruption. What else could possibly happen? We've had a pandemic. There's global conflict. There's economic uncertainty. And, we've had to deal with incredible innovation like the metaverse. And we've known AI from a human point of view has been coming for quite some time. And you can sense there's a real unease in the marketplace about, what are we going to do actually as humans to stay really intelligent and ahead of the game and not be disrupted as a species, but also how do we capture the really brilliant things that it can help us do so that we focus on the smart stuff ourselves. And so with all of that volatility and excitement, I think we feel it's incumbent on us to make sure that people understand everything that's coming at them, the weak signals that they need to watch, the change that they really need to capitalize on. But rather than that being a fear-based thing, set them in control of the decisions that they need to make, so they don't get distracted with every single possible new signal that makes it onto the marketplace, because there's a new one every 5 minutes. But to really give them a sense of what they should sustainably invest in, that is right for them, where they definitely won't miss out on anything critical, but where they can genuinely bring something new, better, different, because that, you know, helps them be their best selves in terms of company and what they bring to bear for us on the consumer side. So we feel it's pretty empowering, and we've set out to really get ahead of these things that can be super scary, but also incredibly empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, again, that's our time, unfortunately, but maybe I beg you, please come back soon. This is something that I could talk about all day, and B, I could listen to you talk about all day for sure, because it's you know, I think it's something that it impacts everyone, right? Like consumer to business owner to the world economy, like everything is this market that you're in, this niche that you're in it's very it's like it's a very blanketed niche for, you know, for everyone to benefit from, I think.
Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to take a look at Collision with us today. Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
All right, absolutely. And to the viewers at home, yeah, go check out Collision. I know you said that the beta came out last week. I think by the time this airs, it should be live maybe, but yeah.
That's right. Well, we have beta live for our clients to use, and just for a couple more weeks, making sure that everything is as it should be. But in a couple of weeks' time, yes, probably by the time this airs, we'll be fully live and with the full data set in there for everyone to interrogate as they would like.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you again, Meabh. And the viewers, we'll see you guys next week.